Welcome to the MSP Corner podcast. Before we kick off our show, we would like to share what our main objective is at the MSP Corner. Our main goal is to help CEOs build profitable and self-sustainable IT service firms. We are not just providing tools for IT firms, we will be sitting in meetings with you to ensure your IT firm stays on track. The first area we are focused on, strategic sales. IT firms are stuck selling technology or IT support. We will provide you with the blueprint so you position your firm as an added value to your prospects. We will have framework on how to sell value so you influence the prospect into selecting your firm. The second area we see many IT firms struggle in is marketing. 90+% of businesses rely on antiquated marketing methods. The most popular choice, word of mouth. We have proven methods on how to attract the ideal prospect. Our framework will include how to become the online authority and be the business influencer for an industry. The third component to our package, scaling. IT firms walk away from opportunities because they lack the bandwidth or skill set to scale. We have lined up reputable businesses so our members can hire on-demand resources that will allow them to scale their business. The fourth area we will offer help in, selecting the right tools. In order to deliver value, you need the right tech stack. Our platform will offer information on products that are the ideal choice for MSPs. The fifth area we will offer help in is with documentation. Templates are a critical component when building an MSP. We will have contracts, proposals, SOWs, collateral, and much more in the template section. You will have every document you need to start up your managed IT service business. Thank you for tuning in. Let's go to our next podcast. Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining podcast number 16. I am your host, Fernando Leon, and I am joined by my co-host, Gregory Morawiecz. And we got part 2 today. We're going to be discussing cold calling, and let's kick this show off. But first, I want to touch on a couple of things. First off, we're creating these shows because if you want to increase your MRR, I'm going to suggest that you continue to listen in because we're going to be providing you with a lot of great data. If you want to close more sales, and basically it just comes down to generating more new business. If your MSP is just relying on word of mouth, or you're waiting for somebody to knock on your door, or you're relying on others to get you leads, references, it's not a great model. You got to start looking into 21st century marketing strategies because it's the way of the future. We have invested heavily in SEO, and if you want more leads, if you want more visitors to your website, you got to start looking into mechanisms that are going to generate more business for you. But let's kick off this show and start off with part 2 for cold calling, because cold calling is such a challenge. It's a challenge for many because they're not used to picking up the phone and really you're getting in somebody's, you're intruding on somebody's business. But this, you can make this a lot easier if you stick to a couple of check boxes I'm gonna mention. If you can stay within your lane, and what I mean by that is your area of expertise in a specific industry, you're going to do much better if you decide, I'm just going to call everybody. And what I mean, why I suggest you stick to a specific industry is because you're going to be the expert for that specific industry. The next one is call into companies that have 30 or less employees. you're going to have a much better chance of getting in front of the CEO. And that CEO is going to direct you to the decision maker if he has too much on his plate, because smart CEOs are really focused on building their business, and they will delegate the responsibility of IT to another executive. It could be the VP of finance or the CFO, or maybe the VP of engineering. And let me just re-emphasize something I emphasized last week, is that it sucks that we don't know who the decision maker is. I mean, unless you're calling into a 200-person office and you know who the VP of IT is, then it's a no-brainer. You know exactly who you need to call if there is a VP of IT. But when you're calling into a company that has 20, 30, 40, 50 employees, you don't have that luxury. Like, let's say you're selling a CRM platform, or a project tool, or you have a marketing firm that can provide marketing services. You would have to call the VP of marketing. You know that if you have a CRM, you can call the VP of sales. You know exactly who you need to call. But in our business, we do not know who the decision maker is, and that can be very frustrating. So I'm going to assume in this part, because we're going to dive right into this, that you have a list and you're ready to start calling into this list. You have an executive's names. You're going to call into a specific city or a specific area, and you have the phone number. It's best if you have their email, but I'll touch on that in a little bit. But if you do not, you need to get a list, because if you don't have the budget for SEO or PPC or some type of online marketing tool, you're gonna have to get a list. And some lists can be a little expensive, but that's what you have to pay in order to get in front of people. That's what we did, and it was back in the in the early 2000s. We didn't have the luxuries we have today. We just didn't. I remember going to City Hall and going to, I forget the department. I don't know, Gregory, do you remember? Do you even remember me doing this? I went to the city of Santa Clara, Sunnyvale, and I went to the business development. I think it was the business department, or I forget which department it was within the city. And I asked them to give me a list of all the businesses that operate in their city. And when you buy this list, which was way cheaper back then, it included the phone number, the address, and who the owner was, and any other registered executives, because they just had that, that they provided that type of service back in the day. Today, it's a lot easier to get lists. You can sign up on LinkedIn and do a search, and I'm sure you can create a database of information that way. And that's what I'm going to suggest you do first. It only costs $200, $100 for a Sales Navigator, and then there's an automation tool that allows you to send automated messages to introduce yourself. Give them a short pitch. Send them information on products for their industry. Send them follow-up messages. Have something automated that gets you in front of them, and then call them. Now, getting a little bit ahead of myself, because remember, you call into somebody, they're first going to be asking themselves, who is calling me? And remember that we are in a business of trust. People need to trust you. It's not that simple to just hand over the keys to the kingdom to an organization they know nothing about. So you better have references. If you make a cold call into an organization, and they're gonna want to know that you're reliable, that you're trustworthy, that you're credible, and that you can handle their business. So remember, you have to remember this, because don't expect to call into an organization and for them to just overnight say, yes, Gregory, take over. We are in your hands. You can have complete control over our network. Here's the passwords and to our domain and our network. And yeah, no, you live in a fantasy if you think that's going to happen. So before you do all of that, you need to build rapport. You need to be uh, deemed a trusted resource. You need to be a credible resource, because remember that you have lots of competition. And in order for you to get in front of somebody, they need to know that you can provide them with the expertise and skill set that they're looking for. So let's talk about how you're going to build that rapport. Well, if you're going to go through a process of Sales Navigator and automated messaging, you need to have a message that's going to resonate with the executive. Now, a message to a CEO is going to be much more different than a message to a CFO or a chief operating officer, right? Because you have three very different people, three different responsibilities. CEO is looking for increasing production, making sure everybody's running efficiently. CFOs want to reduce money. Operations is looking at the overall picture of how he can save, in certain areas, how to run things more efficiently. So you got to think about what message you're going to deliver to each executive. So you have to come up with three different messages for three very different executives. So that is one way to start building rapport, is to get in front of them through Sales Navigator. Because if you're going to be cold calling into them, if your message resonates with them, they're going to want to meet with you if you're calling them at the right time. Remember, this is a game of timing. You have to be at the right place at the right time with the right message, because this is not an easy win. This is not an easy W. Most of the time, you're going to be getting losses. So you have to be ready for lots of rejection, a lot of punches to the nose, and a lot of just rejection in general. This is a really tough game. And take it from somebody who made over 26,000 cold calls. I called into so many organizations for over 10 years, and it was not easy and it was not fun. But I used rejection as fuel to get me over that challenge, right? I didn't allow no's to determine how good I felt or how I should proceed. It was just fuel to continue. So you have to look at it that way, or you're going to get quickly discouraged, because it's a very thankless position, because you're not going to get a lot of wins, and it's not fun at all. It's a lot of pain. Let's just say that you're going to be going through a lot of pain. A lot of the pain is, the challenge is getting through gatekeepers. And now with VoIP technology in place, executives can configure their voice system so it can screen their calls. I've called into several organizations, and a prompt comes up, please state your name. And I do. And when I'm not surprised when, I'm put through and the executive doesn't pick up. I'm not surprised at all, because they don't know me. They don't know who Fernando Leon is. So they just send it to voicemail. You could leave a voicemail, but I don't like leaving voicemails. I want to catch somebody live and I want to get in front of them. So I force them to say no, right? People don't like saying no at times, but I'm a big believer in being at the right place at the right time will create opportunities. So we already touched on who is the decision maker. It's like I said, we don't know. I couldn't tell you. Regardless, if you call, it's going to be easy to determine, okay, the CEO is going to be the decision maker for an office that has 20 or less people. That's just how it works, right? He's going to take on a lot of responsibility, because It's a small office. He will take on that responsibility. Most of the time, the CEO is the IT person. So that creates an opportunity for you because his skill set is only going to go so far. So if he is considering migrating to the cloud, implementing a security solution, getting somebody to supplement his expertise, it creates opportunities. So you got to be able to first get in front of the right person. All right. Part of this journey is being a good listener and knowing when to speak. I'd say 90% of the time I'm listening. You have to ask the right questions because these guys, these businesses are experiencing challenges. There's a lot of struggles. They're going through a lot of pain, and you want to allow them to vent, allow them to provide you with enough information so you can form a plan of execution. And what I mean by that is when you start to present yourself, you're solving their problems during the presentation of a proposal or a presentation in general. But being a good listener is going to be very important. Now, many of you are going to start calling. A lot of you are one-man shops and you're thinking, hey, I can make calls every day for a couple hours a day. And that's perfect. 2 to 3 hours a day is plenty. You can get probably 30 calls in within 3 hours. So you got to be able, but you have to remember that you need to call before lunch between 10 and 12 and then after 1:30. It's important that you call in that time frame. Now, if you've never made cold calls, you got to start practicing. And how do you practice? Well, you run a script by a family member, your spouse, your brother, your sister, whoever. But you have to do some role playing. And you got to ask them to be tough on you. Don't make it easy because this is not easy. If this was easy, everybody would be doing it. Okay. And cold calling is not easy. Now, the script. I'm going to be sharing a script with whoever joins the webinar in a couple of weeks. Well, we're going to have a webinar this Thursday, but we're going to have part 2 the following week. And then in that webinar, I'm going to share the script. But let me just give you a quick preview of what my script includes. I skip all niceties. There's no hello, how are you? Thank you for taking my call. Nothing like that. It's hello, Mr. CEO. Your time is very important. I'm going to get straight to the point. No bullshit. Do not BS with the prospect. You want to be direct, and you want to be extremely short with this call, because you want to first confirm they are the decision maker, because you don't want to be talking to somebody who is not going to even have any clue about IT. They might not even know what IT is. I know a lot of very intelligent people that are in the technology world, and I tell them, oh, I provide IT services. And they're like, well, what's IT services? Because IT services is a very vague description of what it includes, right? Because IT services, some people think, oh, he works on databases, or he's an artificial intelligence, or he is developing software. So people make assumptions based on, a couple of words: IT services, IT support. They don't seem to understand that it is specifically to manage IT services. So you have to be very direct, and you have to be straight to the point when it comes to the value you have to offer. Always confirm they are the decision maker. And if there is a fit in this script that we provide, you're only going to ask 3 or 4 questions. and you're going to go straight to scheduling a meeting, because you want to be as quick as possible, because if they're not interested, hang up. You don't need to be going on and on. If they say no, move on. This is not a challenge of, oh, I got to turn this into a yes. No, you're not going to turn. This is a numbers game, and not everyone is going to be a fit. They might not even understand that you provide a service they're in desperate need, because they're not the decision maker. They have no idea. So them saying no is just telling you that they're not the decision maker, or they are the decision maker and they don't need you. So you just got to hang up and move on. Call the next executive at that firm until somebody determines, oh yes, Steve is the decision maker. He is the one you spoke to an hour ago. So you can take that customer off your list, or you can make a note in your CRM and say, let me call Steve in a couple of months. Maybe he needs us in, next quarter. So, but always, always keep careful notes on who the decision maker is, and when you called, what you discussed, and if they share some information, make sure that you include it in your CRM notes. So like I said, in this script, we're gonna skip niceties. You're not gonna BS with the prospect. You're gonna be very direct. You're gonna confirm who the decision maker is. And once you do that, you go for the close and ask to schedule a meeting, right? Or schedule another call, because you want to collect enough information to generate a proposal, or you want to generate a presentation that's going to solve their problems. Because these companies are looking to save money, they're unhappy, they're dissatisfied. And then why are they dissatisfied? So you have to, on that second call, in that second meeting, that Zoom meeting or Teams meeting, you get scheduled, you want to collect more information. And what are you going to collect? Well, then that's going to be the sales process I'm going to provide for you on another call, another podcast, another webinar. But a sales process is so critical to closing an opportunity. The second component that is going to be critical to increasing your chances of closing an opportunity is having several references that are in the same industry of the prospect you're going to meet with. That's so critical, because I can assure you that the person you're meeting with, or whoever is the decision maker, they're meeting with three other MSPs, because you're not the only. This isn't a market that is dominated by one MSP. I'm sure there are several other MSPs in your market that are talking to these firms, have stayed in touch with them, and just be prepared that you're going to compete with other organizations. But what's gonna help you increase your chances of closing the opportunity is by being the expert in their industry, having references that are in the same industry, and that will give you an edge. So keep that in mind. Greg, do you have any questions? Because you're pretty quiet. Before I close out, I wanted to share a little bonus package on follow-up phrases, because when you provide your prospect with a quote or a presentation, or you complete that scheduled meeting and you guys discuss a lot of challenges, there's going to be some phrases that you're going to want to use. So before I share those, what do you have anything that you want to share, or any feedback, or do you remember our the first 10 years of me making cold calls? What do you recall, and any input that you want to give?
Yeah, I mean, I get cold called every single day, at least twice, three times a day. So I'm used to it. One of the things that you mentioned that I do hate the most is when people try to make small talk
Yep.
and ask me how I'm doing and how my day is going. And it's like, even if it lasts a couple seconds, it's such a turn, like it incites my anger. I'm just
Sure.
upset when they ask me how my day's going. I don't know why, but it's because I know they're a cold caller, right?
Sure.
No
Sure.
one says, "Hi, how's your day going?" that I know.
Sure.
Number
Yeah.
two, there's a pause that comes from robocallers, right? Where you pick up the phone and you say hello, and
Yep.
no one says hello back to you. And you're kind of like, is this a is this a bad call? You know it's a robocaller. You don't recognize the email or the phone number, and there's a pause, and there may be a click, and then there may be even a person who is a robot calling you, asking you for money or whatever,
Yep.
or to meet with have an appointment. Then there's the facilitator, which I hate even more than all the rest of them. The facilitator says, would you be, and I know these companies that do these facilitations, they go, are you interested in buying a new blender? And you're like, yeah, maybe I am. And they go, well, let me set up a call with you and my blender sales guy.
Hmm.
And you're like, I don't want to set up a call with your blender sales guy ever. I don't ever want to hear from you again, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And then there's the instant gratification person, right? They're like, how much is this all going to cost? Like, literally, literally 3 or 4 seconds into the call, you're like, well, how much is this all going to cost? And you're like, from your perspective, I'm sure that's difficult. When you cold call and you go, hi, can we do IT services? And then they're like, what's it going to cost me? You kind
Yeah.
of have to retreat from that whole thing. So,
Yep. Yep. Yeah. No. 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 I agree. I agree. No, it's a definitely a very annoying approach because it's insincere, and you're dealing with people that are, executives are very, very sincere people. They're very honest. They're, very, very of high integrity, and they find that to be so insincere when somebody asks because they know they don't care. We don't care, right? They don't care how your day is really going. It's
no,
just small talk for that icebreaker. So these guys need to get out of that bad habit of being nice on a call. It's like, no, get to the point. These people have extremely busy days, and you've been fortunate enough to get them on the phone. So make the most of it. Be Say something within 5 seconds that captures their attention, and that you're going to provide some type of value, because if you do not, they are going to hang up on you. Because if you do say something of value, if you do say something that piques their interest, they're going to give you another 30 seconds. So you got to make the most of it to ask the right questions and to schedule another meeting, because you probably caught them at a bad time, and you should acknowledge that and say, look, I'm imposing on your time and day. Can I get on your calendar so we can dive deeper into, how we can create a partnership that would benefit both organizations. So that's the whole premise of cold calling. Is don't be you're not there. They're gonna say, if they're gonna say no, they're gonna say no whether you're nice or not nice. So it's better to just be direct, because they prefer direct. I get cold calls all the time, and I hate it when they're asking me, oh, how's your day going? Oh, and how are you? It's like, I know they're not sincere. I know that
no,
they really
it
don't care.
sucks. It sucks
Yeah,
hearing it.
yeah, it does. So that's why I'm telling everybody, please don't use niceties. It's just not appreciated. But if you do get a meeting and you do present them with a proposal or a contract, you're going to always want to follow up. And here are some follow-up phrases I want to be able to tell these guys that, look, You got to follow up. You're not the only person on their mind, and you're not they're running a business. And if you provide them with a proposal or some type of contract, you always say, does it make sense to, if you're calling to get an update, and I hate asking for updates. Updates is not great, but one question you can ask is price stopping you from moving forward with us, right? You can ask that type of question. You can also say, does it make sense to, if you presented a proposal, one of those questions should be, does it make sense to get a contract in place, right? Because it's not super pressure, but it's direct enough for them to determine, yeah, let's get a contract in place, or no, it's not that time yet. At least you're asking a question that they owe you that. If you've sent them a proposal, you've put work in it, you've put effort, they owe you an answer. And this is one of my favorite ones. Did you give up on us? People are not quitters, and that implies you gave up, right? People don't like to give up on anything. So it's more of a psychological approach. Did you give up? Did you give up on us? It's like, oh, shoot. Did I quit? Nobody likes to quit on anything. So that will generate an answer most of the time. At least when I send an email, and I'm following up with some executives, I end it with, did you give up on us? And I'd say 75% of the time, I get a response. So it works. It works. All right. Well, that's it. That's all I have for now. And anything else you want to share? Because you did have some good feedback on the annoying calls of the cold callers. All right. Well, everybody, thanks for listening. And don't forget to sign up to be a member at www.mspcorner.com. Please share our link with a CEO who you think will find our information beneficial to their business. If you have any questions, email me, info@mspcorner.com or sales@mspcorner.com. We'll get back to you, but have a great night. Thank you for listening, and don't forget to sign up to be a member on www.mspcorner.com. Please share our link with a CEO who will find our information beneficial to their business. Have an awesome day.